What's up guys, Chad here with Tech in the Wild. Today we're going to check out the EcoFlow Delta Pro, a battery backup generator for the home. The first gen EcoFlow smart home panel, and then we'll check out some alternate ways to recharge the battery if the power's down. This thing's been great for me for small outages, so let's get into it. This is the Delta Pro. It's EcoFlow's first gen flagship battery backup generator. It puts out 3600 watts AC with a 7200 watt surge and has a 3.6 kilowatt hour capacity. It has plenty of ports to charge or power anything you can think of. This can be paired with another Delta Pro, and each of those can be paired with 2 extra batteries with a max capacity of 25 kilowatt hours. But today, we're going to see what just one does all by itself. We pair it with the first gen smart home panel through their Infinity cable. The whole point is, I'm not running extension cords all over the house to keep things on when the power goes out. In milliseconds, I have power going to the appliances I need the most. And the best thing is, it all has Wi-Fi so I can still control it when I'm not home and the power goes down. If you're going to install the smart home panel, you'll want to use a certified electrician. I can comfortably handle most electric jobs around my house, but even I didn't think about tackling this. It's just too much money to try and save a few $100 and not have someone completely competent install it. As always, this video is not sponsored. This was all bought with my own money, and this is my honest review and walkthrough to the best of my knowledge. So typically the outages around my house are only 1 to 2 hours, but a couple years ago we had a pretty bad infrastructure, so it was going out quite a bit, which is what influenced me to buy this to begin with. But this thing's still great for the couple hours that the power does go down. Right now I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna flip the main breaker off to simulate an outage, and then I'll walk you guys through what I usually do and what I've set up with the system to make sure everything keeps running. So the first thing is, I'm gonna put a camera on the Wi-Fi because if I'm not home, I need the Wi-Fi to be able to control the system. The second one, I'll put on the main unit here so that we can see what it does. Then of course I'll have the camera with me shutting the power off, and I'll also show my phone screen so you can see what I see when the power goes out. So let's head outside and test it out. So you can see the fridge is still running. But things like the stove are off, no lights in the bedroom. Even though it says it has a quick cutover, the Wi-Fi is still completely reset, so we're gonna have to wait for that to boot back up. With just the fridge and the Wi-Fi going on, we're only pulling 150 watts right now. Now, of course, when the fridge actually goes on, it'll go a little bit higher, but I usually don't run any lights. That way I can maximize the length as long as I can. But once the furnace starts and the fridge is running, this will pop down to maybe 2 to 3 hours from 98%. So there we go, the fridge just kicked on, and so you can see it starts dropping the hours down based on how much watts are being used. So it's been a couple minutes and the Wi-Fi finally booted up. So as you can see on the screen here, I can see what's going on with the battery. Given what it's putting out right now, 0.20 kilowatts, it looks like we've got about 12.5 to 13 hours. If I click into that in the center, you can see all of my circuits. The only ones that are running are the internet Wi-Fi, fridge, living room, and the furnace. So I want to get some light down here. I'm going to go into the basement lights, number 7 here. I'm going to click that. I'm going to turn auto mode off. And that way I can select the drop down and do battery power. And now we've got light down here. So that's nice to be able to do. If I was away from home, I'd be able to do that. That's a light that turns on by motion. So it was just resetting. You can see here on number 7, that's green now since I switched that over. So basically these are the ones I have to automatically switch over to battery when the power goes out, and I'll show how you do that. So based on everything we're running right now, we're at about 5 hours, and as you can see on the phone screen, it's showing that as well, 5.5 hours. I'll show you when the furnace kicks in. You can see it really starts cranking up how much we're using. We're at about 400 watts right now. I do have a freezer downstairs, but I really don't kick that on until we've been over a couple hours. It's got so much cold stuff in there that I think it'll usually be okay. I haven't had a big problem with it thawing out for too many hours, and we waited 5 hours one time. You can see with the furnace running now, that's pulling 852 watts. I think I've seen it go up to 12 to 1500, and now our battery time just on one battery is down to 2 hours. So it's a good thing it doesn't run all the time. Obviously when we lose power, I turn the thermostat way down. I really just in the winter want to make sure we're not freezing real bad. If it's real cold outside, I usually keep it around 60 degrees in those times. So if you do go over a couple hours, that's what we'll go over next. I've got a generator and a huge solar panel. So we're gonna go outside, hook those up, and see how that can replenish the battery. For the generator, unfortunately, when the battery's hooked up to the panel, it won't allow AC charging any other way, only from the panel. So if I want to charge it with the generator, I have to unplug it. So that sucks. You have to turn it off, wait for it to power up, and then of course I don't have any power in my house. So that's really just my worst case scenario. If I'm trying to replenish it and there's plenty of sun outside, I go with the solar panel. I ran a power cable through the side of my house down to here, and then it plugs in. That way I don't have to run any of that. The power cable's out under my patio, so all I have to do is take my generator out, turn it on, and unplug this, and then it'll start charging this back up, and it does it relatively fast. I think in a couple hours it'd be fully charged again. The solar panel's a pretty decent size, but you're definitely going to take a lot longer to do that. If I remember correctly, the last time I tried to use it in fully power from 30%, it took almost 8 hours, and we had a good sunny day that day. Obviously with solar it'll vary, but we'll show what that looks like as well. So just remember that AC coming in will not power this when it's feeding the house, when it's putting AC out, but DC in will. So we'll talk about that at the end, some alternatives where you can still use your generator, convert it to DC, and get that charge at almost 14 to 1500 watts, which will speed that up quite a bit. So in preparation for the solar panels, I'm going to plug this XT60i cable in, and that goes right here. So same thing as the AC line. I ran these solar panel lines in on the side of the house, down and through here. We plug that in. I store them in a little box outside on the wall underneath the patio. So we'll go out there, hook the solar panel up, and we'll see how much power we're getting into this. And it'll give you an idea of how fast that charges. And then we'll show the generator after that. All right, so let's get this solar panel set up. It's about noon, so as you can see my shadow, we probably need to tilt this up just a little bit to get full sunlight hitting these. You can use the storage case to prop it up, and it's a little adjustable, but I've already got a couple blocks that I think will work here, so we'll just set them there. Now over here, in this case, I've got the solar panel wires. It's a pretty tight fit. See if this will reach. So each one of these connectors, the negative's got the female, positive has the male. So we're plugged in there. So let's go back in and see how much we're getting out of this. All right, not bad. This is a 400 watt solar panel. We're getting about 280. I could go out there and finagle that and probably get close to 400, but I'm pretty happy with 280. That's probably realistic because I'm not going to go out there and move it every time as the sun moves. So we're in the middle of the day. This would be best case scenario to be getting that much sunlight. So this is probably what you can expect most of the time. If it's cloudy at all, that goes way down. It can get as low as 40 to 80, 90. So now for the generator, like I said, you can't power the battery with the generator while this is feeding power into the house. So it's really important you don't just pull this out. You've got the on off button here. So we'll click that and it'll disconnect this. I'm going to lose light here. So now the whole system's dead. This isn't feeding into anything. And luckily I have light from outside, but we'll just disconnect it from here. And now it should take a charge, so we'll get the generator put outside, plug it in, turn it on, and on our input here we should see it going up. We still have the solar panels hooked up, so if I pull those out, you can see that's not charging anymore. So, and now this is shutting down. So we'll go outside, we'll get that generator turned on and See how much it's cranking onto that. All right, we'll get the generator out here. We want the exhaust faced away from the door, so I'll face it out into the open there. And I like this because it's still pretty covered from any weather. This is the Westinghouse, I believe, 4,000 watt model. I'll drop the model on the screen there, but I like this because it's got a remote control just to turn it on or off. I don't have to keep coming outside. As I kind of showed before, I've got my extension cord just ran to the side of the house. Easy to get here. I'll just plug that in. Got the cord plugged in. We'll give it battery power. Turn it on. Now we'll go inside and see how much power we're getting. So you can see we're getting over 1,600 watts. That's great. 1,600 watts is what it says it usually maxes out at. Plugging this in the wall, it would be the same thing. So that's working good. And in 10 minutes, we'll be at 100%. So you figure 10 minutes for each 10%, that's about 100 minutes. So about an hour and 40 minutes to fully charge. That's not terrible. I think it'll actually go a little bit quicker than that. It usually says 10 minutes, but realistically, this will probably be done in 7 or 8. But it's nice to know how long before your charge is done, so you know how long you're gonna wait. So I got the generator shut off. We're still unplugged here. Well, let's get this hooked back up. Then we'll just turn this back on. Can hear everything clicking back on. So now that we're hooked back up the way we're supposed to be, let's go back upstairs, get the power turned back on and see what that looks like. And then we'll wrap things up with some final thoughts. All right, power's back on, but we've still got the settings providing this light up here from the battery. So I'm going to go back into that. Number 7 there, you can see it. Click on that. We're going to switch that back to the grid. Switched over pretty quick. And then we'll go back to auto mode. And there we go. We're completely back to normal. Everything's using the grid. Okay, so now you can see my Delta Pro's down to 85% down here on the bottom left. It's real easy to recharge it as long as it's plugged in. I just click on it down there and you can see that recharge button. So I'm going to click that. You'll hear this click and it'll start charging that back up. So there we go. Exit out of this and now you can see power running down to the bottom left to charge that up. And once it gets to 100%, it'll automatically shut off. Okay, so let's start back at the beginning. The EcoFlow Delta Pro is an older model. They have a new model, the Delta Pro 3, and it plugs into the also new Smart Home Panel 2. I'm sure there's been major upgrades in both of these models, but I've had my setup for almost 4 years and I haven't had any problems for what I need it for. Secondly, there are people who have used both systems to power their entire house full time, especially areas with high electric costs at peak hours. They use the batteries to power their homes during the heat of the day and then recharge from the grid overnight when it's cheaper. As you can imagine, everything you would need, that's a pretty costly setup. But it may make sense to them in the long run, especially if they're off grid. That's nowhere close to what I'm using mine for. But if that's what you're looking for, there are tons of videos out there with those people showing them what they did. I rarely have outages, and my critical circuits aren't demanding much. The fridge and the internet average around 250 watts. And when the furnace kicks on, the startup shoots up to about 17 to 1800 watts, but overall levels out at 1200 watts. And just a reminder, I keep the heat lower so it's not running as much, and it's just enough to keep us comfortable for as long as possible for the recommended outage time. The generator. I didn't talk about it much when I was outside because it's so loud out there. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but I do want to take a minute to get into it a little bit more. I like this model because it has the remote start, plenty of power, and one of the most important things, dual fuel. You can use gasoline or with the included hose, tie it into a propane tank. So if you're snowed in and you run out of gasoline and you have an extra propane tank, you at least have another option. Just keep in mind, when you're running on propane, it has a slightly less power output. It should still be fine with the EcoFlow, you just might get a couple hundred less watts going in. As I mentioned before, while the battery is providing AC to the house through the smart home panel, it won't let you recharge the battery with AC, only DC, like with the solar panels. Now, I haven't tested this yet, but I've been looking at an AC to DC power supply unit, specifically the Meanwell UHP 1500-115. It outputs 115 volts DC, 13.05 amps, which generates 1500 watts, comfortably under the 1600 watt max that EcoFlow recommends for the input to the battery. If this works, this means I can run the generator pretty much as long as I want to feed the battery for my critical loads, as long as I have fuel. I just ordered this, and I know, I should have been more prepared for this video, but I'll post another video soon on how I hooked it up and how and if it's working. There are a couple other options I could have gone with. I could have ordered another Delta Pro. It's possible to hook up 2 Delta Pros to the smart home panel and then just ping pong back and forth which one's powering the house while I recharge the other one. But that's another $1,600 to $2,000 if it's on sale, and it sounds like a lot of work. Or I could buy the extra battery that connects to the Delta Pro and power it with the generator while the Delta Pro powers the house. But again, that's another $1,100 to $1,200 on sale. And also still a lot of work hooking and unhooking everything. But if you need more battery power to power your house, or if you need 240 to power your AC during the summer, those might be realistic options. And yeah, if you hook up 2 Delta Pros to the smart home panel, that allows you to power 240 instead of just 120. And again, there's plenty of videos out there on that as well. Now, for the automation setup, this doesn't just automatically switch over to the battery when the power goes out. You have to set up automation logic. It wasn't very intuitive back when I did it, and there might be more stuff out there now, but let's take a minute and just run through it real quick. With the Delta Pro connected to the smart home panel, and also the green light showing you have a good connection on the smart panel to the Delta Pro, we'll click the triangle up here on the top right, so you can see my automated tasks. If this is new to you, it would be blank, but if I click into this first one, it's basically saying if there's a power outage, then, and I chose switch to battery backup. Now, as an alternate option, it lists all of my circuits and I can check which ones I want to go to battery. I picked 1, 2, and 4, like we discussed before. We click save. Now on my second task, I'll click into that. I'm basically saying on a schedule, if it's between these dates, I don't know why you have to select dates, but you do unless that's changed. I'm not gonna mess with this because it's been working good. And I'm going to need to push my 2026 date because it's coming up. But on the frequency, I picked monthly, and I'm basically going every 10 days. So the 1st, the 11th, the 21st, and then the cycle repeats each month. Since it stays in sleep mode to be ready to switch over when there's a power outage, it does use up battery over time. So that's why I've set this up to recharge every 10 days to make sure it's as close to 100% in the case of an outage. Down at the bottom, then I want to recharge the battery on ports 1 and 2. Why not? The AC charge speed, I've just got it at 1800 watts because that's what was recommended. And the charge limit, I'm charging it up to 100%. So I save that, and that's it. So if you're looking for a minimal but realistic battery backup for your critical circuits, and those circuits are under 2000 watts, I think you'll be pretty happy with this setup. I know I am. All in total, I paid probably around $6,000 about 4 years ago. Today, if you catch these on sale, you're probably looking at half that. EcoFlow does awesome sales, especially around Black Friday, but I do notice the prices go up around summer for a good reason. And even though there are newer models, the older ones, like I showed today, are still being sold even on Amazon, and they're still very reliable. I hope this was helpful to you, and if you have questions or you have your own setups that you'd like to share, drop them in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you like this video, hit that like button and click subscribe. Click the bell icon so you can be notified every Sunday when we release new videos. And as always, thanks for watching.